Okay, I think we can actually start a little bit. So, hello, hope you see my screen. My name is Oleh, and today with me will be two my friends, Ben and Bohdan, who will also join me in this presentation. We decided to give you a little bit brief preparation topics before the holiday, before the Black Friday and the Thanksgiving Day. We will not really look at the code itself or any other cloud environments, but we will talk mostly about the good practices, how to prepare before holiday, and how to make sure that everything will be in best possible shape. Good morning and good evening, who just joined. We can start. And Bohdan will be the first person to talk today.
Okay. Hello, my name is Bohdan. I'm from Magenta Cloud team, and today I would like to tell you about small but important things regarding preparation to holidays. So, and first is consumer logs. As you know, Magenta uses logs to avoid running duplication of consumers at the same time. So on the production and staging, we support two types of logs: DB logs and file logs. And you can find environment variable Magenta Cloud logs due on staging and production. This variable contains paths to special views for logs. We recommend to use file logs because if you use DB logs, you can lose these logs if you have huge loading, because failover can switch connection between database servers and you lose your logs. So please check your configuration for logs in your MPHP file. So you need to use file logs. And also you can find links to our dev docs and read more information. Oleh, can you? Next, small advice is check that all caches enabled, because if even one cache is disabled, it can be a root cause of performance issues. Next. Also, as you know, Magenta supports slave connections to proceed read queries. It's using these connections, Magenta can load balance between read and write queries. So you can see example how to enable slave connections for MySQL. Next, please. The same information for Readis, but be careful. If your project runs on the split architecture, don't use slave connection for Readis, because currently split architecture doesn't support this functionality. Next. And also using NewRelic, you can see some metrics like time response, CPU usage, error rates. So using these metrics, you can make decision about upsizing your environments before holidays. Next, please. Also using database metrics. Oleh, please open next slide. Using database metrics, you can find some slow queries. NewRelic provides you some advices how to improve and fix these slow queries. Next, please. Using this tab, you can see some transactions. It's like opening product page or category page. Using this information, you can make decision regarding maybe disable third-party modules or another stuff to improve performance. Next, please. Oleh. Also,
Yeah.
Also, if you see some errors in NewRelic, you can find this information and try to fix before holidays. Next slide, please. NewRelic provides more detailed information like stack trace and another helpful information which you can use to fix these errors. So thank you. That's all from the side.
Oh, you just skip past me. Hi, I'm Ben Batschelet. I'm also an engineer on the cloud team. So I wanted to kind of talk about a few other additional tweaks you can do or checks you can make before Black Friday. So firstly, everybody on Magenta Cloud should be behind a Fastly cache, and it's very important to make sure that as much as possible you're utilizing that cache. So the best way to do that is to look at the headers that come from the requests on your site. You can use any tool you want for that. I personally use HTTP, curl, Postman, even Chrome can do this for you. But ultimately, what you want to do is you want to look at the header x-cache, and that will have two values for it. It will be either miss, hit, or hit. You want to make sure that you see the word hit in that X cache header at least once. Doesn't matter if it's one way or the other, as long as at least one level of the cache has hit. It may take 2 or more requests for the cache to get caught up. So if you get the first request and it comes back with miss, hit the request a second time, maybe even a third, and see if one of those values is now a hit. I would also recommend, at a minimum, you should check your landing page, your home page on your site, because that's where you're going to be getting the most of your traffic. But if possible, you should be trying to cache your category pages as well as your product pages, if that is possible. So go through, audit a few URLs on your site, trying to make sure which ones are cached, and if your homepage in particular is not cached, look to see if there's any dynamic content in there or anything that cannot be cached for some reason, and see how you can remove that. Next slide. Now, if you want to avoid that initial delay after you deploy, you should make sure to have the Warmup Pages variable configured. This will tell EC Tools to fire off requests to your site as part of the deployment process, and that should actually pre-warm that Fastly cache for you. So your first customers won't get hit with that initial delay when they first load the site. So we've got kind of an example there. Oh, go back. Of how the Warmup Pages variable works. There's several different ways you can configure it. You can give it just a static URL, such as the first two, where we're going to your homepage or the contact page. You can give it wildcards for either the CMS or the category pages. And then in the last example, we're looking at how you can actually use it to pass a regular expression for all the category pages that match, have the word red somewhere in there, as well as for a given store ID or store name. Okay, next one. I wanted to also talk about some of the diagnostic tools you have at your disposal. This is actually a slide from Oleh's presentation recently, and it's important to know where to look for any kind of debugging information. If something goes wrong, this is going to be your first line of resource, right? Your first place to look for information. So you got your PHP logs, your Nginx, cloud logs for all your deployments, and your Magento application logs. That should be the first place you look if anything goes wrong. In terms of preventative things to do, I would strongly encourage you also to look at that MySQL slow log before Black Friday. Look for queries that are going into that slow log because they may not be indexed, or excuse me, they may not be using indexes, or they may not be well optimized. And that is another good place to look for areas to improve before we really hit these traffic spikes next week. So take a moment, look at MySQL slow log, look for queries there, and see if there's anything you can do to optimize them. Next slide. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about what we are doing on the cloud side in order to kind of help y'all during this peak traffic times. So we have increased our on-call coverage across the board between the days of November 18th through December 8th. To do this, we are actually borrowing some other engineers from the core and performance teams as well. So they have been rapidly trained to help with escalations. And they'll be helping provide additional coverage for everybody during the holiday season. And I wanted to kind of also emphasize that we are having equal levels of coverage during both the daytime and the nighttime. So it's not going to be one of these situations where during night you've only got one person on call. We have the same amount of coverage both during the daytime hours and the nighttime hours, so that that's available to y'all if anything should go wrong. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Ben. So this is Oleh, and I would like to talk about some Magenta Tuning. So, of course, if you see some kind of DOS attack or you feel like your site being under the big pressure, you can use the fast and native scenes available to you from the box, and you can, for example, block the IP ranges, or you can block different countries, or you can actually use even more extended faster blocking rules. This can be helpful if you really see that there is a big attack happening on your site. Also, there is a small tool which called Kroenke, so we added this to the EC tools, and the usage of it is, for example, if you have two branches being deployed at the same time. For example, it could be integration and production, and if you feel like your crons being stuck, you can easily SSH into your integration branch and then cron those skills, so your production branch will be deployed as well. Also, we recommend, this is our first rule for the production sites, move your static content on the build phase, because it will save you a lot of time on the deploy. Your users won't wait and will feel like there is nothing happening under the hood. Also, we provide the configure zero downtime article, so you can try it and take the most advantage from the zero downtime deployments on the cloud. Also, we recommend you at least to check that your EC tools is 20 plus, because in this particular version we fixed a few very important things. And with the last release called .22, we added a bunch of patches. One of them is for security, for page builder, few of them for MSI, for performance degradation, elimination, and so on. So please check your EC tools to be at least 2002.0.20. You can do this very quickly with Composer Log, which is give you the best representation of your current version. Also, this is some kind of old rule, but also it's important, and please do not redeploy your environments during peak hours. Please plan your changes before, because this is actually will flush your fastly cache, and possibly it will add a very serious performance degradation till your fastly cache is in place. So a little bit about the Magenta Tuning itself. So there is some kind of tips from performance team. If you have models which are not really used but is enabled, please try to disable them, because they also may add some degradation. Double check if you have any third-party models which can flush caches during some admin actions. This can be actually very unexpected behavior, but that's what we sometimes see and investigate from our side. Also check that indexers are set on schedule but not on save. Do not actually flush cache on any admin action. And also check that Robo60 is configured properly, because what we saw sometimes that there is actually search engines which want to access pages which they should not, and actually add your additional loads. So just check if your robots.txt are properly configured and in place. So we, as a cloud team, will be, as Ben said, we will be monitoring closely. We have on-call rotation, and we also will be available in the cloud Slack channel. And also, of course, the dev docs, which explains basic concepts of tuning Magento on the cloud. So please keep this reading for yourself. That's actually was everything from our side. If you have any question, we are open for discussion. Thank you for your attention.
I got a question about the days. So client has 45 burst days, right? So if they're on a Pro 12, they could go to a Pro 24 for 9 periods of 5 days.
You're talking about upsizing, yeah, right?
Serge.
I'm talking about. Sorry, I didn't get your question. I'm talking about bursting to. So what is part of the contract of moving to a higher tier because you're upscaling? It's not in the slides. It's not a question on the slides. It's just a question related to upscaling the environments.
Yes, so you should actually receive the email that says that your environment was upsized 2x times, and this will happen until the end of the holiday season, and it should not cost you anything.
Right.
It was
so where yeah. Is there a place where you can see how many days you've used? Because I think if you go to the next tier, you've got 45 days. If you move on forwards to that, it's 22 days. And then 10 days or 11.
Hi.
Is there any place where you can see how much has been used up, how much is left?
I think it was 3 dates from the November till the December or whatever, but we will double check on these dates because I'm pretty sure they are very standard for everybody and they are strictly set already. There is nothing like expiration or whatever.
Yeah, search dates.
But we'll double check for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, search. Okay, so I thought there was a place maybe we could see them, but looks like from the comments you have to reach out to account manager. Okay. Would be great to have some visibility on that.
Yeah, I will double check on this and back to the cloud channel for your information. Thank you for the question.
Okay. There is actually a page on the Cloud Center. You can see when your cluster resizes have been done, if that's what the speaker is talking about.
No, I mean the remaining search days, because you've got, so it works with the system of you get 45 going to each tier, but then it halves. So
yeah,
how much do you have left? I mean, it's good to know that it's done, but if I'm sort of at the end of the year or any time really, I want to just, as a client, want to see how much I have left for upscaling my environments. Like, where is that being held? Where, I mean, there must be a tally somewhere.
Yeah, we'll double check, but from my, if I am not mistaken, they are strict dates and they have some beginnings and some endings. So we will check and reach you with those dates.
It's not so much about the dates; it's just about how much you have. How much more can you burst, right? Or surge, whatever you want to call it, because you're going to be using it. I mean, if you're growing to the next tier and you're running 5 days, then you have 40 days left. But if you go into the tier after that, there's 22 days available on that tier. Does that mean if I'm using 5 of those days, I also lose my 5 days on my first tier? Is that across every tier that I grow from a 12 to a 24 to a 48? do I have 22 on 48 when I started on a 12? And then do I use those days? Anyway, that's my question. It's more about where do I have visibility around this and how is it calculated?
Yeah. So right now, as mentioned on the chat, like if you want the most accurate answer for yourself, you'll have to reach out to your account manager or which is the CSM. But we've taken a note and we can see if there's a more seamless way of communicating it, or maybe doing a self-service on this question.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you have any more questions, we are happy to answer them in Cloud channel, and happy holiday and a good rest of the day.
Just one more thing I'd like to mention on the, sorry, thanks somebody.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm done. If you have a question, yeah.
There was a point about Fastly. It wasn't on the slides. There's a very nice tool, the Fastly tester, that you guys shared with the community, and I think it's on some of the docs as well, which might be helpful to others, where you just put the backend in the URL you're trying to hit, your origin server, and it will basically check all your Fastly settings. And
it's in the docs somewhere?
Is it where? Sorry?
Where is it? I'm not familiar with the Fastly tester, so I'm curious.
Yeah, so it's, let me just get the link for it. I got it somewhere in my tools here. Magento backend tester. I'll just paste it in the room. Click. Here it is.
Oh, okay.
Really nice. Yeah, very nice tool. Checks things as well as your edge side includes. Setting is done properly. But it's still something you probably want to use as well in this case. Anyway, I thought it was worth mentioning.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Bye. I will also upload this recording to the YouTube, so if you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.